am recording.
And we are live. Tell your friends you're listening to the Verhoeven Effect podcast. I'm Conlon.
And I'm Nathan.
And we have a very special episode 69. So we thought we'd go with a horny movie.
Yes.
So we went with 1968's Barbarella.
Yes. Definitely one of the strangest movies I've seen in a while.
Definitely horny, but not really full of sex or anything like that. Actually, all the sex is off screen.
Yeah.
Also came out before, basically just before the MPAA became a thing or was ratified.
Okay.
And so this was like, because also Planet of the Apes came out the same year. So I was in Internet Movie Database. It's like, what's the rating on this? It just says passed or certified. Like, so they didn't have official ratings back then. I think ultimately Planet of the Apes gets like a G rating because, they just didn't know how to, it wasn't that fine back then. So like, eventually this ends up with like a PG rating, but also gets kicked around as like, no, this is pornography.
It seems so quaint now to watch something like this and realize, oh, the Legion of Decency was really angry about this movie. It's like, what? Jesus.
And then there's like a cut of this called like Barbarella, Queen of the Galaxy, which I guess just takes out the nudity, which really isn't that much. So
yeah, I wasn't like shocked by anything I saw in this.
I don't know, the 60s, it was late 60s. Wasn't everybody, just having weirder sex anyway? So.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of that, it was a cultural moment, I guess. I guess there was a time when, there was a lot of people that were really taboo about things, which is kind of weird to think about. But I also grew up in kind of the remnants of that. I remember like, oh, you didn't talk like the way we do now, even in the 80s, because people would be like, that's horrifying, unless it was two adults and no one else was listening. Like, you didn't put it out for everyone to hear like we do now. But it also doesn't seem like, I don't know, the concepts of like just things.
I guess it was way easier to have behind the closed doors things back then. So
yeah. No, there was no way for people to air their horrible thoughts and opinions. It was back in the era when you could beat your wife, and it was normal. I guess, I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, Nathan, do you have a history of this movie at all? Have you seen this before?
I watched this movie when I think I was like 12, and I had heard of it, and it was like, you could watch all kinds of weird stuff on like cable late at night and stuff, and I know it was on there, and I just thought it was kind of like a weird foreign film almost when I watched it.
I mean, yeah, it is.
I mean, yeah, essentially it is, with just some American actress, but I didn't really it reminded me then, and now it's like, oh, well, then I did some research. I found out this is also based on a comic. I was like, this kind of got heavy metal vibes from this.
Yeah.
And so it kind of was like,
which heavy metal published later versions of the comic. So
yeah. I mean, and I was a big heavy metal guy when I was, I had a subscription to that magazine for like 14 years or something. Mainly not because I mean the sex and the weird, like, just overdeveloped women's chests.
Yeah. I mean, it gets known for its violence and its sex, but there are like actually interesting stories in there too.
Yeah,
so.
I just like the stories after a while. It's like, well, okay, this is a cool story, and yeah, the lady's got really big boobs, but it's like the story's still cool. And she like shot that guy in half. Wow, okay. So I kind of got, when I was watching this again, I was like, oh yeah, this is like, this is based on, because heavy metal was also a French comic. It just got translated into English, but yeah, this was also based on a French comic, and so was The Fifth Element, I believe.
Yeah, probably.
Was that a comic? Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, it is also French, so it could just be that.
Yeah. You see, The Fifth Element hits it right for me. Like, if you're gonna do like weird French sci-fi stuff, it's like, oh, I love The Fifth Element. That's great. This stuff kind of it sort of doesn't hit the mark. It's just quirky. It's just like,
I mean,
weird.
You would call this campy. This is a campy sci-fi movie, where it's not offensive, but it is like, and it's hard to call it poorly made, but it is poorly made.
It's weirdly made. Yeah, it's made lovingly bad.
Or I guess it's has a lot of curious decisions that don't seem to mesh as an entire story.
Yeah,
But there's probably a reason for that, because there's technically like 19 writers associated to this screenplay, and that's just the people credited for it.
yeah.
There's more people.
Oh yeah, because this is what a French and Italian co-production.
This is a Dino De Laurentiis production, so
Okay.
the good old Italian madman who we last saw doing Red Sonja, but we know of a bunch of his stuff.
Oh yeah,
He's made some of your favorite movies, so
yes. It's directed by Roger Vadim, who was
I guess
Jane
married to
Fonda's husband at the time.
yeah.
And I guess he liked to be drunk while he was directing the movie, which kind of
Oh,
made
okay.
him angry. So it was like, huh, all right.
Yeah, they had made a movie together before, so like they kind of like brought them along.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like this thing. Sorry, I have to send my. I'm not even sure if that's picking up. I have to send the vacuum cleaner. We don't need you right now.
I can vaguely hear it. Yeah, we're doing this as an early day podcast because of reasons.
Yeah, it came out October 10th, 1968. I think that's the U.S. release. It was released in a bunch of different places. Yeah, Roger Vadim directed it. There's nothing, I don't know, like nothing on his I recognize too much. No, this is pretty much the thing I recognize the most. The other thing they did together with Jane Fonda was The Game Is Over, which was just I think that's just a straight French film, which Jane Fonda can speak French, so.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
And cinematography by Claude Renoir, who I think he has like a whole family of cinematographers. I think. He shot Cleopatra.
Oh, okay.
Did he do something else we did? I can't. Oh no, we talked about the director who did Cleopatra, because I think it was guy who directed Planet of the Apes also did Cleopatra. So yeah.
Oh, okay.
Just weird connections between movies. Yeah, because these are both movies from 1968, the Barbarella and Planet of the Apes. So, I guess he did. Oh, he also did a cinematography for Spy Who Loved Me. So he did some big movies.
Yeah.
French Connection 2. I don't know. I don't even know if that's a bad movie. It just seems like an unnecessary movie. I mean, I guess the first one ends on a cliffhanger, but you know,
It's not. It gives more insight into who Popeye Doyle is as he's running around France being drunk and fighting people. It's like, okay, that's cool.
The screenplay is by, I guess, based on a graphic novel by Jean-Claude Forest. Or maybe you say Foray. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I still can't. The Denis Villeneuve is still throwing me off. I can't do all these French names.
So it's written by, the first credits are Terry Southern and A&D, so separately Roger Vadim, the director. Terry Southern did like The Cincinnati Kid. He did Doctor Strangelove. And he did one other big movie. I'm doing it off the top of my head where I should just, pull up the Internet Movie Database. Yeah, although the way he talks about Easy Rider, he wrote Easy Rider.
Oh, okay.
The quotes I heard from Terry Southern kind of made it seem like he was surprised anything he wrote made it into the movie, so he was surprised by getting accreditation for it. But maybe he was a big enough name. They were like, we got to slap that name up there first. So, and then there's like 8 or 9 other people accredited as writing for this screenplay. So that's crazy. And then there's like, even more people uncredited.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like that. I forget. There's some guy who like he said he wrote the whole the view screen meeting with the president and like the suicide room, And so he said he wrote those two things and he didn't get credit for it. He's like, well, what did anybody else write? So,
Yeah.
those are kind of, well, at least the presidential scene is pretty key to the movie. So to get kicked out of the writing credit seems kind of impossible. So, but
You never know.
of course, the cast is Jane Fonda and a bunch of people I don't know. It's John Philip Law. He plays Pygar, which I don't know if he's just some Italian guy. Because again, this is a Dino De Laurentiis production, so it's
He's an American. He's from Hollywood.
really? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I assumed all these people were Italian or French because it's a lot of French, French director, Italian producer, and they're shooting it in Rome. So, and Anita Pallenberg, I'm guessing she must be the Dark Queen or the Great Tyrant. What was her other name or something?
Yeah, the Great Tyrant of Sogo. She was she was not the voice of the queen. She was just the physical actress.
Oh, okay, yep.
Voiced by somebody else.
Yeah. Italian movies do that a lot.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, if you saw, actually movies did that anyways. But yeah, the movies that you call the spaghetti westerns, like the Fistful of Dollars and the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and that stuff, like because back in the day, if you wanted sound quality, you shot everything on a studio, and they wanted to go shoot outside, which means you're not getting audio, so all that stuff had to be dubbed in later, which is why those characters are stoic and have few words. Is because it's easier to dub in later if nobody talks.
Yeah.
And so that allowed these Italian productions to we'll just dub in an American actor on top of this guy who's just phonetically mouthing English words. So
yeah,
that was a very common thing, especially back.
Very weird performances from that.
Yeah.
Like, didn't Quentin Tarantino try to recreate stuff like that in one of his movies for fun?
I don't know.
It sounds like something he would do, but I can't recall it.
But yeah, nowadays, like they're so good with the audio that almost all production audio is worthless anyways, even though you think we got all this cool equipment. It's like almost everything just gets chopped up and redone in a studio and in a computer.
yeah, because they can actually sync the voice up and edit it a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. They can do a lot of crazy things with that stuff. But they pretty much almost all the time just throw out the production audio, but that's always a fun thing where it's like, hey, let's go shoot in the middle of nowhere. So we have all this production value of hey, look at the world and the landscape and stuff like that. And then a plane flies overhead and ruins everything.
Yeah. And her in the chariot scene. 27 goes screaming over. It's like, hi. Oh yeah, those two guys that got killed. Yeah, we're going to have to get some more guys. That didn't happen like that, but yeah.
But that's a story that seems likely and is stuff that happens all the time. We're shooting some biblical, what do you call that? Historical film, and then all of a sudden a plane flies overhead. And it's like, well, that wasn't in the Bible. we can't leave that here.
Yeah. And the Lord said unto them, Pan Am. I don't remember that part of the Bible.
So we have Act 1. So again, we got a Dino De Laurentiis production, but here it's I don't know when he got the kind of the gray with the Janus logo, but it's not here.
No. That comes in the 70s, I think.
Yeah. We zoom in on a spaceship. Everything's weirdly silent, which I guess it's silent in space, so maybe they're doing something like that, but maybe that's
the
also
spaceship looks like a whistle with boobs on the side of it. Really strange thing.
Yeah, I was actually expecting there to be way more phallic and boob-shaped things, but not too much in this movie. Well, I guess it also shares a production with Diabolique.
Oh yeah, they use a lot of the same stuff.
So they basically just got done shooting that movie and started reusing the sets to do stuff for this movie.
Oh, they were pushing the people off the set. It's not for us to film space boobs. Get out of here. Leave all this stuff behind. We'll we'll do like a Wrath of Khan. We'll just turn like razors upside down and glue stuff on them. It's like it's a shuttle, you know.
um, which I feel like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like Diabolique is also infamous in weird ways. I only know it from, well, I know it from two things. It was the series finale for the sci-fi run of Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Yeah.
Which that was one of those, like, it's a great episode, but it's also like this movie has way too much quality to really be an MST3K episode. Even though it's a silly movie and it's easy to be made fun of, it's like, no, there's actually good production here.
Yeah.
And then also like scenes of it and the style was used in the Beastie Boys music video Body Movin'.
Okay.
So that's the two things I know of it. I don't know, do you know of Diabolique from other sources, or did you just straight up see it somewhere?
I remember I've seen it. Yeah, it's one of those movies. It's like, it's very it's kind of like weird. It's definitely of its time.
Yeah.
It's got some really groovy sets and stuff, and some really high production. But I think it was actually expensive to make,
Yeah.
as I recall. But it's like one of the most expensive cult films of the '60s and early '70s. It's, but I know everyone watched it and it's like, huh? And it's like, it's one of those movies you just watch for just the style. It's like, oh, this looks cool. I don't know what's going on or care. It's like, you'll never see another movie like this. Definitely stuck in the 60s. But it's not even as memorable as like Barbarella. Like Barbarella had some like interesting, silly stuff going on.
Well, I think
Diabolique was trying to be a little more serious.
Yeah, well, it's also trying to go for a James Bond thing too, but it's also just like trying to be a fun heist movie where like the heist guy is also, he's like the hero and the villain of the movie, so that's weird. I guess also interesting. And he's got the very iconic like ninja suit that he steals in. And then I just remember the ending where he gets like covered in gold and it's supposed to be like, oh, he's dead now, but then like they go like one last shot is zooming in on him where he's purely cannot move at all, stuck in gold, and then he's like laughing that like he's got the upper hand at the end. I was like, no, I don't know how this is positive.
I won. I'm entombed in gold. I got what I wanted. Yeah, it's avant-garde. The weirdest, the best you could say about it is, it's avant-garde. We've got the good guy, bad guy, which French films like to do that a lot. French and a lot of European films, it's like, no, this is the good bad guy. It's like, okay, Kaya, I get it.
But yeah,
like when we watched about the guy who was an assassin, is like, yeah, you're rooting for that guy, but all he does is kill people.
Well, I mean, that's the kind of thing is like, I've seen some like these Italian stuff and like they seem to have amazing productions, but I really don't know a lot of Italian film. Like I know more French film, like, you know, like it's like Le Samurai and stuff. Like even like Le Cercle Rouge for this one. But like I really don't know any Italian films. Like I know there's like that one guy, the guy who did Suspiria, the original one. Like he's like a famous like horror like director, and I know that the Red Letter Media guys always talk about him and his and like you see scenes from his movies. It's like, why have I never heard of this? This is fucking crazy.
Yeah, this is nuts. The girl's intestines just blow out of her mouth with blood. What are you doing? Yeah, it's weird.
But like I still, even there's even some like modern French stuff I know, like Titan, which I bought and I haven't watched, but I just know about it. But I don't know any, like, what's modern Italian film? Like I have no idea.
What was that one we watched in Northern Italy where it looked like it was after the apocalypse, but it wasn't? It was just
it was like
Northern Italy. Yeah.
It's like Gore. Oh, what's that called?
Gomorrah or something.
Yeah, Gomorrah or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's like Italian, like modern crime drama.
Yeah.
But it was so bleak. It was like, these people's lives just suck. No wonder they're killing each other. What else to do? It's like they live on a moonscape of poverty. And like this guy's willing to beat someone's head in with a hammer for like a 1980 Fiat. Like, oh, wow, this is not the place to be living. This Northern Italy doesn't look very. This isn't the Italy I think of. No.
So
I think the French have a better style, I guess. If I had to, like, the reason I know more French stuff is I kind of like their style and I get them. The Italians seem to like everything's got to be quirky and comedic or just schlock. It doesn't
Yeah,
seem to be
well,
like they balance it very well, at least in the limited
I
things. Like,
think
there's
the
probably great Italian movies out there I've just never seen.
I it seems that the editing for the Italian style is kind of very loosey goosey and kind of like, we did an expensive thing. We don't have any B footage, so this is just how it's going to cut together. I think the French are more planned out and like how the sequence of editing. Even though French, like, they can have bonkers editing where it's like things just go all over the place, but I think generally French editing is, you
Well,
can
in
see a linear path.
a lot of French movies I see, a lot of things are in motion simultaneously. A lot like that can become confusing. You're not bored. You're just like, wait a minute, I need to rewind. What's going on here? What's this side character doing? What's this guy's doing in the background? Yeah, and in Italian movies, it's like, we shot the best 15 minutes of B-roll you're ever going to see. We're going to have to put it in the movie.
Yes.
And it's like, am I supposed to appreciate what the emptiness of this? What am I, how is this supposed to make me feel something besides like, because I feel like I'm doing it wrong if I hit fast forward, but this has been going on a long time. So yeah, that's what
we cut to the inside of the spaceship, and it's an astronaut stripping in zero G, and so it's Barbarella, played by Jane Fonda, the ever beautiful Jane Fonda.
Yeah, infinitely hot. Who I guess in real life has horrible body image issues.
Huh.
Thought she was terrible and ugly, and it's like, how do they poison people like that? But then she explained she's still alive, by the way. She explained much later in life, it's like, oh yeah, my dad said if you're not beautiful, no one will love you. And it's like, oh, when your dad's telling you that when you're a little girl, it's like, yeah, your life is not, and you're going to go into entertainment. Okay, yeah, I understand. You number one, you're beautiful. You shouldn't have these issues. Eat cake if you want to. You're still beautiful. You're a good actress. But, you can't,
Well, I mean, she comes from a Hollywood family. Her father, Henry Fonda, who's like kind of a famous kind of cowboy actor, who I mostly know from Once Upon a Time in the West, where he's like a bad guy, and I guess that was kind of like off character for what he usually did. I just remember
that's the same Henry Fonda I know. It's like, oh, he's the bad guy. It's like, no, actually, the bulk of his work, he was the white hat cowboy.
And then her brother, Peter Fonda, was an easy writer, and a bunch of, he's like mostly a B movie actor, but like Easy Rider kind of like bolstered him up because that like won Oscars and stuff. So like, oh,
he's one of those B movie actors. He's in a lot of B movies, but he brings gravity. Like, he has the most weight of a B movie actor of that era. It's like when you see him, it's like, oh yeah, that guy. He's almost like establishing something in the movie just because of who he is. And he's a unique looking guy too.
Yeah, and can play like a surfer dude for like his entire life. I think he actually was like a surfer guy and escaped from LA. I think he
was. Yeah.
I think that's that horrible sequence where they make Snake Plissken surf.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to John Carpenter there, but I'm just trying to forget about that.
And then her niece is Bridget Fonda. We last saw in Jackie Brown. So,
yes.
yeah, this
is.
Yes. So this is a whole family.
Family of hotties.
But Jane Fonda probably probably the most well known.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And maybe some infamous stuff. Cause because of that. What'd she do? She like went off and like. We see like, what's the Vietnam side of Vietnam, and then like,
oh yeah, like in 1970 when there's still actively a war going on and Americans were dying, she decides to go to North Vietnam and hang out with the Viet Cong, and sees like some of the stuff going on, like the bombings and stuff, and kind of she really takes a hard line against America and American soldiers, and it's like, okay, and then she later sort of admitted like, as far as like, I hated the war, but yeah, I shouldn't have said that when people's kids were dying and stuff. And believe me, and that was a draft war too.
Yeah.
So the people that were there, like, were just Uncle Sam was pointing at them and say, "You go," and it's like, I talked about that.
But yeah, it's hard. I mean, also she was being used as propaganda, and it was like the Vietnamese had plenty of bodies to show her of like, look at the horrors.
Yeah,
So you can see.
We don't know if those bodies were from B-52 strikes, and they just took a bunch of people out and shot them. Like, yeah, go ahead and show Jane Fonda. Yeah, she was definitely used in that, and there's people that like hate her. Like she was a famous
Oh,
urinal cake thing and stuff for a long time.
oh, I mean, I was looking up YouTube videos of things, and it still pops up as people that are hurt by Jane Fonda will never forgive her for, you know, being used as propaganda for the Vietnamese.
Yeah, and famous people do this all the time because like, hey, people pay attention to me. My opinion matters. It's like, well, hold on. There's the reason they pay attention to you is because you're cool looking and you're entertaining them in ways they like. Doesn't mean you're like going to hold forth on these really complicated. It's all right to be against war and killing. That's fine. Just be against it generically. Like all war and killing should stop. I'm support that because and like because it never really seems to solve anything anymore. But yeah, when you kind of just home in and start doing this anti-American rattle during a draft war, it's like, ugh, yeah, that's bad. Even if it's not a draft war and Americans are being killed, it's like a general statement of I hate war is fine.
Yeah.
But when you start like baby killers, it's like, oh no. Put down the pipe, Moonbeam. It's a lot more complicated than what you think.
But yeah, like her, like it's weird when you look at her career because there's not like necessarily like huge movies that she was in. She's also in a lot of comedies, so she does have a pretty weird career.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And she pretty much just skipped the entire '90s. Like she did one movie in 1990 with Robert De Niro where he like is like a cook who can't read, and so she has to help him read, and like they discover love. It looks kind of embarrassing, but yeah, it could be good. I don't know.
I think she was married to Ted Turner in the 90s.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So yeah, she probably didn't have to like work a lot.
Or she has kids, right? So that could have been a thing too.
Oh yeah, she has. How many children does she have? 3 kids.
Okay. Yeah, that could totally be a thing. She didn't come back till acting till Monster-in-Law in 2007 or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she was in Gracie and I think it's Gracie and Frankie. It's it's like an 85 episode Netflix show. She did in her 80s, so she's still doing stuff.
Oh yeah. She was also in some movie about Tom Brady, where they
yeah,
were like they were fans of
oh yeah, it's
80 for Brady or something.
Yes, that's it. Yes, I hear it's awful. So
my favorite Bridget Fonda movie is the China Syndrome.
I mean Jane Fonda.
Or yeah, sorry, Jane Fonda movie is the China Syndrome.
Yeah,
that's the one I really liked, and that was like late 70s,
79, I believe.
Okay, so yeah, right in there.
Yeah.
Like that's when she really like is like, oh, she actually looks like a news reporter, and I forget. I remember the performance I remember the most in that is Jack Lemmon. Did a great performance. I mean, Michael Douglas was in it or whatever, but that's my favorite Jane Fonda movie.
Yeah. Well, that's right in your wheelhouse. Like it's like
oh yeah.
Nuclear
disaster. It's like, bring my weird 8-year-old son. Yay, nuclear disaster. It's my thing.
So yeah, Barbarella's floating around stripping. She seems blind and clumsy, but I think when you learn about how the shooting process, it seems very weird. Where like they hung a camera from a ceiling and put her on like a glass platform.
Yeah, she was laying on a piece of glass and moving around, and then they had the set behind her as if she was floating in space.
Yeah.
Except when you do close-up shots, you can see like the reflection on the glass of like, oh, that's interesting.
There's like this slow face reveal because it looks like her helmet's like full of mercury and it's like draining out.
Yeah, I want to know how that was done and how dangerous that was. I was immediately thinking like, oh, they just have her like in a helmet with like 2 plates with mercury in the middle. Like, out.
I mean, it kind of looks cool, but it's weird as hell.
It takes too long.
Yeah.
It's like supposedly the helmet's like transitioning from we're blocking light to clear, and it's like that's cool, and that's like when it happens like like my glasses, like when they chemically get the sunlight and they darken and then they light. But when it looks like it goes down like a line, like this,
yeah,
it's sort of like, huh, that's strange.
We made this. You spent a lot of time on this. We got to throw it in the movie. The credits start bouncing around the screen. There's like a funky show tune that plays.
Yeah, just remember, folks, 2001: A Space Odyssey came out the same year as this. Just keep
Oh
that in
no,
mind.
next year, right? 69 wasn't
Oh, it's
69?
68, 69, something like that. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, all these movies were like within a year of each other.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, they did a re-release of this when Star Wars came out.
Okay.
That's when it got the Queen of the Galaxy cut, so they could put it back in, because it had to be resubmitted to the MPAA, which now existed.
Yeah.
Barbarella's naked. And she's like spinning in wonderment. So she's just, I don't know if she's enjoying herself or she's just drunk, which she also got drunk during this.
Oh yeah, everyone was high or drunk or something. It was the 60s. Why wouldn't
Yeah,
it be?
yeah.
Making sex space. It's like, yeah, let's get
Yeah.
screwed up. We're not
They
going to
don't-
win the Oscars for this. Let's have fun.
They don't know the implications. Yeah, and they're shooting in Rome, so they probably have no idea. It's like, is this getting released anywhere? I don't know.
Yeah. Is people going to see this?
Yeah, this is like celebrities who shoot commercials in Japan and get paid like $10 million to like look embarrassing. And it's like, well, who cares? America's never going to see this.
Put your earpiece in. Here's your lines. Get paid. Here's a check.
She presses a button, the gravity turns on, so everything falls down. Yeah, the inside of the spaceship is just like shag carpet and buttons. It's weird and stupid, but whatever. It's fun, I guess.
It's super 60s.
I mean, it looks like a spaceship.
It's a wagon, literally.
I mean, it looks like a spaceship if you got like knocked around inside of it. It looks like you'd take less damage than a normal spaceship.
Yeah, I want the Wookiee for spaceship. When the inertial displacement technology fails, I don't get my skull caved in. It works. It actually makes sense. It's genius.
Barbarella gets a message from Earth. They exchange love high fives, is where they just hold up their hand and go love, and the other guy says love, and she's talking to the president of Earth or something.
Yeah, Earth Republic.
Yeah.
Okay. So she's naked.
Yeah. Yeah, which is just fun. She's like, "Oh, should I go change?" He's like, "No." Which, you know, if he just says that for
this is fine.
Yeah, I don't know if he says that for brevity or it's like, "No, I like looking at you naked, so stay there."
Oh no, it's implied he likes her because
Yeah.
later he says, "I want to meet you someday."
Yeah.
Like this, just like we are now.
So the president sends Barbarella on a mission to find Duran Duran, and yes, that's where the band got the name from, or at least
no, notorious.
Or at least that's what the trivia says. I didn't find a direct quote from the band saying like, yeah, we took that from here, but seems
can't read about it. Burns the skin from your eyes. Yep, that's it. Duran Duran.
Never let me down again. What's that one? Just give me the pain that you're used to. That was one of their newer ones.
Yeah, I just know, I know Notorious, Hungry Like the Wolf, and Rio. Like, those are the ones that I thought most applied to this movie.
Oh, okay.
It was the ones I picked thing during the movie, during the review, because God forbid we actually play it. We're gonna steal money from someone.
Yeah, also there's a line where they talk about like the Alpha or Tau Ceti like has a weapon, and she goes, "Why would anybody want to build a weapon?" Which that's just great. Like that's so naive. Like even Star Trek isn't that naive where they wouldn't like, why would anybody build a weapon? At least those people are like, Star Trek is like, this naive utopia, but even they're like, hey, we have more sensors than weapons, but we still have a lot of weapons.
Yeah. We're like explorers, and we like to meet people. We also have the biggest starships, the most comprehensive fleet, and like we might not have the big scary Klingon disruptors, but we have Vulcans that can make stuff that like just turn those things inside out. And also, we have the largest economy somehow of all our enemies.
Yeah, without money.
Yeah.
Money.
Yeah, but even they like, oh yeah, we can shoot you with this beam and disintegrate you. It's like we don't want to do it, but we will.
So yeah, they're talking about like war could break out, and so she has to go stop it. Like, cause he says like their armies, they don't have armies or police, and he can't spare the presidential band. So,
Yeah. But then he beams weapons over to her in the most
yeah,
awkward, like the props are terrible, like closing doors scene of, oh yeah, here's all the guns we have. It's like you said you didn't have weapons or couldn't comprehend them, but here's guns.
yeah. Well,
And they're historical guns.
yeah, they got him out of the museum, so there's that. And she does like throw them away, but she still has them. So
Yeah, she takes them in her closet of changing clothes.
Of course, Barbarella is a 5-star double-rated astronavigatrix.
Yep. Navigatrix, I like that. So many things implied there.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, because yeah, we hear tricks like that. You either go like Matrix or Dominatrix. Which one
Or
is it?
both,
Both.
because there's also both of that too.
Yeah. She gets a brain scanner, from the Atom transmitter, which is just their teleporter, but it seems to go far more distance than the Star Trek teleporter. But
yeah, Star Trek's like 15,000 kilometers without shields, was kind of the limit. Basically, line of sight was what you could do with a transporter, unless you bounce the signal around.
yeah,
But then you risk like the motion picture disasters of like, oh, it failed. And then you find out like that's the only time a transporter's failed. It's like, what? Just for the motion picture? Jeez. Just to get Spock on the ship? God.
They didn't have any like weird in the original series transporter errors were like something.
Oh yeah, they went to like the mirror universe and
okay, yeah.
But I don't remember. Someone said once it's like, because that is like, yeah, you're just, that form of transportation is like you're being disintegrated and put back together at the other end. Like, but then in the next generation, there was like a phobia that developed around it. It was basically, if you had that, you were essentially crippled as a Federation citizen because
because you realize that
you have to get around.
Yeah, because like essentially the idea is like, well, you're being deatomized, which means you're being torn apart and then reassembled on the other end, which basically means this machine killed you and then made a clone at the other end.
Yeah, you're dying over and over. It's the Albuquerque drive, but just for an individual. It's like you could be going to a different universe every time you're transported. You don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, because that's like the ultimate way to attack the Federation or any of the starfaring races in Star Trek is just like, oh, make some subspace thing that like fries their transporters. It's like you're going to shut their entire system down. I mean, they have shuttles and ships, of course, but if they have to dock and move people that way, it's like, oh man, you're back in the 21st century then. They never have explored that very much because it's one of those like MacGuffin technologies. Like, well, we have to have this so people can emote about other things. We really don't want to go too deep on this.
Well, I mean, the only reason it was created is because they did create shuttlecraft and stuff, but like it was a production reason. It was just let's ride around this. Let's just have the people appear on the planet rather than doing the whole like let's get in a shuttle, get them down there. It's like, what if they just appeared?
That's the other thing, like M-class planets. Like, well, no more spacesuits needed. Because real like space travel is a lot more like it would be a lot more like what was that? Interstellar.
Yeah.
It would be very complicated, very time consuming, lots of wild gravity shit going on. It's like, no, Star Trek's cool. No inertia. We're happy. We're in an inertia-free universe.
So yeah, the brain scanner can tell because she gets like a picture of Duran Duran, and she just kind of laughs because like in the picture he has a helmet on. She's like, I don't think I can recognize him, or I may misinterpret that. There's also room for like she's like thinks he's handsome, and then she's like, I don't think I'll recognize him or something. Like I wasn't sure about that.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what was going on. She was basically given a picture with 10 people in it and no arrows pointing to anything. And like here he is.
No, there is an arrow.
There was an arrow. I must have missed it.
There's like it's pointing to a guy with a helmet on who you can barely see his face.
Oh.
Yeah, the president like beams over a bunch of weapons, and it's like she's like awkwardly cradling them while she's naked.
Yeah.
Also, like the part where he starts to give her the mission, she like stands up and like salutes weirdly, and then puts. It's like weirdly cute.
Yeah.
It's like, are you just because it's like she almost did that just to make her boobs bounce, even though you don't really they're not focusing on her boobs in the scene. It's all like neck up shots in this whole situation. But there's like back shots where you can see her like, oh, she's naked, but it's only implied. So
Yeah, side boob, side boob.
yeah, lots of side boob, under boob, boob behind glass. Yeah, they got a lot of boobs in different ways in this movie.
Costume boobs,
Yeah.
like just clear cutouts, plastic things for your boobs. Like that would be the most uncomfortable. How do you make that not pinch as you're fighting? You know, it's. And I'm
Well,
sure it did.
oh yeah, I heard like those plastic tubes they like shove her through. I heard like her skin got ripped off in one of those plastic
Oh yeah,
slides.
I could see that. Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah,
Because usually they put talc and stuff in those to break the friction, but yeah, you can't do that in film. Yeah, just rip her skin off. Just give her first degree burn.
Yeah, she ends the call with the president. Yeah, he kind of makes it like, yeah, I want to see you again sometime. She just tosses all the guns into a closet. So it's like, I don't need these.
Yeah.
Then she goes behind a screen and it just immediately gets dressed. There's also like, this kind of interesting thing in the background. There's like these cards on these like rotating poles that are like, I don't know, it's almost like a stock ticker, but on like multiple levels, and it's like simulating the computer, I guess.
Yeah,
it's sort of neat. I don't know, but it's
it looks like a scoreboard from the '80s where like different gears would move different colored panels, and it would make like a 01, a 02. But this doesn't make anything. It's like showing a computer thinking or something.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a neat looking thing. So it's up for you to. This is all for you to imply what it means because they don't explain anything.
Yeah, no, I don't even bother.
Yeah, she gets in a new dress, so this will be the one of many.
Oh, yeah. A lot of costume changes in this movie.
So Barbarella takes off for planet Tau Ceti. She takes a pill and goes to sleep on some weird plastic bed that doesn't look comfortable at all.
Yeah, she sleeps like 153 hours. She's not going to need to sleep again for like 2 weeks. I don't know if it works that way, but.
And then gets up and like has no aches or like things don't move. It's like just yawn and everything. It's all good.
No one takes a shower or anything either. No wonder they don't build weapons. I can sleep 6 hours someday and wake up and feel like I need like medicine and like maybe someone to realign my spine.
You don't really get a whole lot of like model stuff in this movie of model special effects, so they just have her sit in front of a screen and just kind of weird lights and images and gelatin or something. That's the implied space travel.
She's flying into a lava lamp.
Yeah.
What's going on?
The trip finishes and she wakes up and ingests nourishment.
Yeah, which she seems to hate.
Yeah,
like a purple liquid.
Yeah.
Why everyone's so sexy in this universe? They're not eating. And sadly, like she had really bad bulimia during the time of filming this, so it was kind of like that's double sad when you realize like, oh, and the bulimia is where you just eat and throw up, right?
Yeah.
Okay, because there's one.
There's different ones. There's ones where you can just eat and just work out constantly. Yeah. That's a form of bulimia. That's just binging without the purging, and then there's binging and purging, which I believe is part of bulimia, but there's different forms of it.
And then there's ones where you don't eat, where you start looking like a chick from a Greyhound rescue, and that's
anorexia. So.
Anorexia. Yeah, she never had that, but okay. I guess. No. But she was always. It's always weird to see her in this movie and other movies I've seen her in, and as a little kid, and then you find out, oh, she hated the way she looked. And I'm like, what? It's so crazy to me. But,
yeah. Oh yeah. Well, when you have an entire society that people that reward you for looking very good, and you have no idea the consequences to get there.
Yeah, that's why I could always be just a big pig of joy, because like no one cares how I look. I don't need to look like load a truck. Like nobody cares. I guess I could get a complex. It's like, man, when you were loading this thing today, you were all fat. I'm like, what? Oh yeah, when you hit the ramp, you were just bouncing all over the place. It's like, okay. I wait until the doctor's like, well, you're gonna die soon. It's like, oh well, now it's time to lose weight. It's approaching.
She calls the spaceship Alpha. I think it's called Alpha 6 or something like that. It's not necessary at all to know that.
No, computer sucks in this movie. It's like I'm dizzy. Ah, thanks. This is real great AI we got here.
The ship crashes on Tau Ceti because it's got magnetic interference or whatever. Just some sci-fi explanation.
Yeah, there's like, what's our chances of not dying? Like, I don't know, 10,000 to the power of 3 to 1 or some silly number. It's like, oh, well, she's dead. Then wow, this is weird.
Oh, there was a moment in the scene, I forget. Like she's like very being very formal, and it's like, I see the object, and the way she said it, I had a I'm not sure if it's a revelation, and maybe like if you do the A/B testing on it, it wouldn't make sense. But I was like, here's where I realized something, that like Jane Fonda sounds almost exactly like Nichelle Nichols.
Oh yeah, okay. Yep.
At least when that stilted like, sir, there's an object, like like that kind of dialogue, they sound very much alike. I don't know if they actually sound much alike, but like that kind of stilted dialogue is like, oh crap, they sound a lot alike.
Yeah, it's kind of stuff that no one would say in real life, but it's like what you have to say in the show to to move the story on. It's like yeah, that kind of talk. Sir, an unknown object is ahead. Like that really communicates nothing, especially when everyone's looking at the screen. You'd be like, yeah, no shit. Like, see it. Thank you.
So we have Act 2. Barbarella goes outside of the crashed spaceship. She can breathe the atmosphere, so they just said it was okay, so she can go out there. But she still grabs a spacesuit, but it has no helmet, and it has even less clothes than her previous suit had.
Yeah. Yeah, there's extra oxygen, it says. Apparently, no acid in the environment. Yeah. I just put on the bikini. Explorer's bikini.
I think her first suit had I think it also had. There's a lot of times where it had like the tummy window, and this also had like a boob window where it's like it's not empty. There's like this weird cup in front of her tummy and window, but it is like showing her skin, but just through the plastic that's shaped on her body.
Yeah, that's always like a sci-fi thing. It's like they do that. It's like, and they even do this in modern stuff. It's like, oh, these people are going to wear armor, but the women are going to have cutouts for their breasts. And then you actually see women in real battle armor and real wars. And it's like, no, they don't have anything like that. Because it's a ceramic plate. You're not going to cut holes in it with a bullet.
But yeah, I mean, this is just like somebody having fun with the costume department. So it's like, yeah, let's put her in a bunch of stuff. Which I don't know if this has any connection. It would seem direct for me that like it's called Barbarella. It's like, and Barbie is out at this time. Like, are they trying to make some weird their version of? Well, I guess the comic came out in '62. So
yeah,
I read some of the comic. I found on archive.org some of it, and like there is a bunch of costume changes. So that is something from the comic book that happens constantly.
Yeah, no, the comic, because I read a few like panels you could read, and it's like, oh, it's way nastier than this movie. It's like, oh wow, they were doing this in the '60s. But then again, there's a lot of comics you can read about. When you go back, it's like, oh, that's crazy.
But mostly, I mean, the thing about it, there's just a lot of free sex going on in the comic book, and most of the nudity is just like, here's some butts and breasts. Like, there's no spreading, there's no genitals.
Yeah, no, it's not like that. No kind of.
But there's a lot of excuses to get her naked. So
yeah,
and she seems fine with it. So.
Oh yeah, well, that's the thing about even in this movie, it's like she's okay with it. Like no one's imposing sex on her. She's like, yeah, we could do that. Why not? What else are we doing?
Some weird twins pop out and talk to her. She can't understand it. She tries to address. She tries to change the settings on her tongue box, which is her,
I like that.
Her universal communicator. And then they knock her out with a snowball and tie her up. This is another.
They knock her out with a snowball that they put like a jewel in. And just basically like, oh, you just gave her a concussion.
Yeah.
Like you hit her in the head with
Oh,
a
I
rock.
guess that'd help make sense because she gets knocked out a lot for very little reasons for the rest of the movie. So maybe this is the start of it. Like once you get one concussion, the second one's right around the corner. So
That's why she's acting so weird by the end of the movie. She's like, she needs to be in full concussion protocol. What are people doing? She's at risk of a brain bleed at this point.
they tie her up and put her on like a sled, and then this like alien stingray sled dog like drives them through this smoky set that's like covered in ice. It's like an ice rink. This is like
It
really
looks like
stupid.
the dumbest stuff you'd ever see
Yeah.
in Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Yeah.
Considering the previous production quality of this movie was not like amazing, but it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
It just like whistle at the stingray slug, and it literally moves like something from like the worst like Godzilla film.
Yeah.
Like just like
You can
a string's obviously pulling.
Yes,
only
you
one
know
side of it.
exactly what's going on here. What's not happening is not a creature dragging them. What is happening is some people behind the scenes are dragging a rope that's hidden by this weird thing they built.
Which is they only did something like this once and then never did it again. So
Yeah.
apparently even they were like, yeah, let's not do the ground slug thing.
Yeah, which seems like that's an easy reshoot. Let's just cut this out. But you
Yeah,
know, they kept
I don't
it
know why
in.
we could just have the thing just blowing along on its own. Well, but that would ruin what you did later. So yeah.
Or we just cut to the next scene.
Yeah.
They take her to Duran Duran's spaceship, where it's like kind of like split open in the middle, and there's other creepy twins around there. The twin children set up these creepy dolls with like teeth that walk towards Barbarella, like tie her to a pole. And I like the sound effect of the chomp. It's like this it sounds heavy, and like they're just slamming two wood blocks together. It's like, oh yeah, that seems like that would suck. So that's effective.
Yeah.
And then dolls start biting Barbarella. The kids laugh at her, and then some adults show
kind
up.
of a creepy, weird scene.
Oh,
actually.
yeah.
It does like work in its way. It's like this is. I mean, it goes on for too long. It's like, are we
Yes.
going to show every doll with its mouth clacking together, except
Yeah.
the one that doesn't have the separate jaw piece, but you put the special effect in it? And it's like, how's that one clacking? But, okay, whatever.
Yeah, it's just like a weird like hat on a hat. It's like the kids are already creepy. Why don't you just have them torture her? And it's like, no, let's set up the dolls. It's like, this is unnecessary. What does any of this mean?
What does this mean? Which is what we try to understand on this show, but I can't get anything out of it other than it's like we like this effect. Or it's a union thing in Europe. It's like we got to have so many puppeteers on the set. It's a Italian movie. So.
Oh yeah, we hired twin actors so we can use one and swap them out. But then somebody forgot and they put them on screen at the same time. So it's like we need to cut away from the children. We're done filming for them for the day.
Yeah, they can only film for 25 minutes a day.
It's like, oh, we fucked up. Get the dolls. I mean, consider like the life of these children. I guess there's something weird, probably where like these children are on their own, which I guess that's on purpose, until they're old enough to be recaptured and put into the Sin City.
Yeah.
And so maybe like they're trying to emulate being parents, and so they built these dolls, except they're bad parents who they have bad parents, and it's just a cycle of violence. Like, that's the best I can do for this movie of what the hell this means, because it doesn't mean anything. But yeah, then some adults show up and they capture the kids in nets and they let Barbarella go, which is like two guys in suits, and there's this guy who's like kind of wearing like a Sasquatch cat costume without the head.
Yeah.
And he's the catchman. So he catches these kids because they just let them out in the wild until they're like they need to bring them back home. Barbarella adjusts her tongue box and now she can communicate with the catchman. The kids live in the wild till they're old enough to be captured or for service or something, you know, whatever notorious thing this place needs.
Well, they're going to a city called Sogo, which is just to take off the word Sodom and Gomorrah. So
Yeah.
it's like, oh, okay, nothing good going on there. Not going to explore that too deeply.
Barbarella gets a ride on the catchman's stupid ice carriage.
Yeah. The weird, like, unlikely perpetual motion machine.
Yeah. Yeah, she's like,
fire this fan up to run sails to drive it along. It's like, oh, it's a Rube Goldberg ship. Okay, cool.
Yeah, oh yeah, 'cause she's like, how will it ride without wind? And yeah, it's got a propeller. It's I just thought it was really stupid because they really focus on it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like this is the money shot. It's like,
Yeah,
huh?
this is in the motion picture where they show the Enterprise A for the first time,
Yeah,
but it's
yeah.
this dumb thing.
Gonna do beauty shots of the styrofoam ship.
And the sails that are just like plastic bags inflated with air.
Yep. Yeah,
um,
these freezer bags are gonna get us home.
uh, here they're she's trying to like thank him, and he's like, hey, basically the catchman's like, hey, do you want a sex to repay me? And she's like, okay, I guess. But
Yeah.
here's where you find out that like Earth isn't really like doing sex anymore. At least not rich people are. Only poor people have traditional sex, and they do something about. She says, you haven't even read my psychocardiogram, and it's like something about like trying to find like soulmates, and then they take this pill and touch hands together, and that's how they have sex. That's how rich people have sex on Earth.
Wasn't that something like in the Demolition Man too?
Yeah,
Where
yeah.
yeah, it's kind of the
Yeah,
same thing.
yeah, but they get like VR goggles on and they kind of interact, and then but that was all an AIDS scare thing where it's like we can't because the movie's done in the 90s, and so they're extrapolating into the future that like, oh, you'll have to have even safer sex because sexually STDs are getting out of hand. So that was
Yeah.
their idea. And then like and then like so they do the VR thing, and then the Demolition Man is weirded out by it. It's like, why don't we just have traditional sex? And Sandra Bullock's like, ooh, like what are you, a weirdo?
And then in real life, Sylvester Stallone would be like, "Wait, you're like 28 or something. You're a virgin?"
um so so there's like some modern pill that they take to have sex. But then they have sex anyways, but it's all off screen. They cut away to the ice carriage just riding around for about 5 minutes, and then
Well,
some
don't forget
funky.
when he takes the Wookiee or the Sasquatch suit off, he is revealed to be wearing another fur coat underneath.
Oh, I thought that was just like he's just a naturally hairy guy or something.
No, he is, but it was so weird. He had
Yeah,
so much body hair. It was like, wait, is that a thing? Are they having a laugh or what is this?
yeah. Yeah, because it is weird. Because like it's like, oh, like why does he wear the fursuit? And like, what's he covering up? And it's like more fur. It's like, yeah, I was just every Italian guy. Like,
Yeah,
this is what they are.
that could be the case too. I've heard that. I'm pretty much a hairless chimp myself, but I've heard some men are like, just covered in hair all over their body.
Well, it's also this guy has dark hair, so that shows up easy. So,
Yeah, that's true.
because I remember like always like Robin Williams like had almost like comically hairy chest and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, that's right. He did. Yeah.
I guess I'd work for him too. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So then we cut back to Barbarella's like naked under some like blankets, and she seems happy with sex, and this is like a whole new world for her. It's like, okay, because he says like, yeah, because the thing about like why they like abandoned sex on Earth is because it was just taking up too much time, and
It was
people's
too
like,
distracting.
yeah.
Take a shower afterwards. Just a filthy hobo. Yeah.
So yeah, the drugs they created for like was quicker and more efficient, and children didn't result of it. So they're like, yeah, this is the way to go.
Yeah. Yeah, but now she's walking around like she's like ground up a couple Percocet and smoked. It's completely like, thank you.
The Catchman goes and looks over the spaceship and just says, I see what the problem is. And then from that, the ship is magically fixed. He doesn't turn a wrench or do anything. He just says, that's the problem. And then it's magically fixed.
That's how men with hairy chests fix things. What the problem is, now it's fixed.
Oh, he also mentions that Duran is in Sogo, so that's where she's got to go. The Barbarella takes off in the ship, and then it just crashes again. But this time, she activates the Terra screw, so it doesn't crash. It like goes into the subterranean surface, and like it starts traveling through there instead.
It's like the core.
Yeah.
It has one of those things. It just It has the unobtainium hull with the ray on it. It just liquefies the earth as it goes through it. The Terra screw. Well, it's actually because the Ketchman fixed the stabilizers backwards. So instead of going up, it went down.
Yeah, okay.
Even though it initially went up. It was like, oh, okay. The Terra screw and the tongue box. Going to Sodom and Gomorrah. It's like, great. This
They're
is not
going.
flying over anyone's head. Don't worry.
They're traveling through the underground and hit something anyways.
Yeah, somehow.
And it stops them. Oh yeah, she also gets another suit change where she grabs some furs from the Catchman, so it has like a long tail on it. She keeps tripping over the tail and
She's
gets caught in
essentially
the
a
door.
furry at this point because of sex. It's what happens, kid.
But then she trips over the tail, and so then she like gets a new suit. And, she exits the ship, and you see her new outfit. Here, yeah, it's again they've emerged on the outside, so they're no longer underground. So, whatever. Some rocks fall near her, and so she passes out again.
Yeah.
And then some guy comes by and starts feeling up her body, which is like, well, that's weird, but it's revealed to be a blind guy with angel wings, so it's totally okay.
That is cool. Actually, that is allowed. If that happens in real life, it's like, oh, okay.
This is
Like,
how
why? Is it because he's blind? It's like, no, because he has wings. They can do whatever the hell they want.
He's Pygar. He's the last of something. The ornithropes or something. I can't remember the name they called them.
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah.
Sogo is the city of night where the great tyrant reigns. I think that's one of the lines from the movie. Apparently,
Yeah.
Pygar was like left here to die in this labyrinth after he lost his eyesight in a magnetic storm, and so they're like, "No, never gonna put you out there." So,
Well, it's also because he was good, and nothing good is allowed to live in Sogo.
yeah.
Only evil can live there.
Which you don't know the time.
It makes sense when you figure out what's going on. It's like,
Yeah.
See that? It's kind of weird.
Yeah, you literally can't have good there, or it won't work. So yeah, they need to go to Professor Ping. Pygar can no longer fly because he's lost the will. Not that he can't. He's just like, there's no will.
Yeah.
He seems satisfied with that. It's like, that's cool. Whatever. I've lost my
Kinda how
will.
I am. It's like, yeah, but you lost the will to live. Yep. Yeah.
It's okay. It's fine. It's what happens. They walk into the labyrinth where it's like people are just wandering around, and some people have become the walls of the labyrinth, and some people are like half naked, and some people aren't. It's all weird, and it just seems like
they have roots growing out of their head.
Yeah, there's cobwebs everywhere, but no spiders. Fog, yeah. They just let the makeup people go wild here. It's like, yeah, do something, whatever.
Just do Halloween in a cave.
Although like the kind of like, I don't know, the matte painting or model of the labyrinth looks kind of neat, but it's like you could never actually go in there because they didn't build the entire set around it. But the model looks kind of neat.
It looks cool from afar.
Yeah. Pygar brings Barbarella to Professor Ping, who this is played by Marcel Marceau, who was like a famous mime in France.
Yep.
I guess this was kind of a big churn for him because it's like it's somebody and he's speaking, but he doesn't have the mime makeup on, so I don't know how many roles he had, but this was kind of that guy has an interesting life. So.
Oh yeah,
because he was like helping Jewish children escape from France into Switzerland, and like he had family that died in Auschwitz and stuff like that. He's and then became a famous mime. There's something here about feeding orchids to slaves and it being like, I don't know, ironic because of like how hard it is to grow orchids and they have no nutritional value. I don't understand that. That seems like something.
It's just cruel irony. It's
okay.
Just, you have to work, invest time and resources into growing these plants for slaves to eat, and they have no nutritional value. So it's taking something good and turning it into something bad.
Okay. All that
about as deep as this movie gets is the Lotus Eaters. It's like, okay.
All that is not evil is exiled to the labyrinth. So we don't know. Oh, there's also we cut to some guy who is like his chest is hollow, and they call him the Grand Grotesque. They say it's the Grand Grotesque, the classic way of ending your life. I'm like, wait, what is that? Like that is just disappearing, or what's going on here?
And you become so sad you become transparent. Like that's not really possible because trust me, you couldn't see me right now if it was.
Ping says he knows Duran Duran. Pygar takes them back to the ship. Because they don't know the way back, but Pygar, he's using his other attuned senses to do so. Ping says he can fix the ship, but it's going to take any time. He could fix it in 1 minute, or it could be 3 years. He doesn't give him a timetable. So
Yeah.
Barbarella is trying to work on getting Pygar to fly. So Pygar takes her to his nest, and she says it's beautiful. And some guards show up, and Barbarella bought like a really small gun, like a Derringer. This is basically like the gun from Men in Black, where it's really small, but
it's highly destructive. Like barely the size of your hand. Yeah.
um, and Barbarella gets like wrapped up in the blackguard's whip, and so she like guides Pygar to grab the gun off the ground, and then he blows up one of the blackguards. Or they also call him the Leatherman. Everything has like 2 names in this movie.
Yeah, slightly erotic one.
Yeah, and then when they blow up, they literally just put a bomb in a costume. It's kind of it's kind of a good effect. I mean, it's like, oh yeah, that guy's destroyed. Then we cut to like pretty sure the aftermath of Barbarella and Pygar having sex, and so because they had sex, now Pygar can fly. He's found the will to live. So she grabs her mini missile projector, which just one of the guns. It's just the bigger gun. And Pygar picks up Barbarella, and so like and they fly to Sogo, and we have some Blackguard ships showing up, and they like fire at them. Barbarella blows up a ship, and then she blows up some more. This is a pretty bad action scene, but whatever.
Yeah, it's kind of like weird looking ships, like something from Doctor Who. It's like really dumb. Like I don't understand what's going on because light flashes and then things blow up. But there's like no connection to it.
Yeah, I feel like almost all the stuff in this movie is also in like Flash Gordon, but I think Flash Gordon does it better.
Yeah.
There's also this weird moment where she blows up one of the ships, and she's like looking up Pygar's like, I got him, and then she looks back down and she like kisses her hand and then like rubs the kiss on his face. It's like what? And he wouldn't even know what that means.
It's not from the same culture or anything. It's like, why are you putting digestive enzymes on me?
Pygar gets shot. They fall, but like they fall for a bit before like he regains himself. And Barbarella loses her missile launcher, and so she pulls out the small laser gun and uses it on the last enemy ship. She gets one shot off and hits like wings it, and she doesn't have any more energy, but it just kind of falls and blows up anyway, so they're good. And then she tucks the gun into Pygar's pants, and then we cut to them. They land on some dock, like at Sogo, and then they're like oogled by all like the creepy people inside because everyone here is supposed to be evil. So it's weird. And there's just a dead girl on the floor that nobody cares about or takes mention of or anything.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird like thing. Like, huh.
A couple of guys grab Barbarella and they throw her on some like airbags, and they're like about to rape her, but then some eye patch chick comes in and kills them both. And the eye patch seems really into Barbarella. So
yeah,
I mean, this is revealed to be like the great tyrant or the dark queen later on, but
she has like the spinning knives.
Yeah,
pulls knives out and they spin. They're obviously on some kind of rig where they're just swirling around. She's not actually like doing knife tricks.
she's got the Assassin's Creed hidden blades on.
Yeah, essentially,
yeah. But then Barbarella runs off, where it seems like she was about to like kill her, but then she decides not to. It's like, she's too sexy. Even though it seems like there's like lesbian intuitions here, like they never do anything.
They can't go that far.
Barbara runs out to go look for Pygar. Pygar's like surrounded by people like holding knives on him, and also there's just like a group of women grasping onto his legs. It's like very
Yeah,
weird.
people are moaning too. There's a lot of like, it's like, but you don't see anything. It's just in black and
Yeah,
white and weird. It's like, ugh.
it's evil and creepy. That's how this place operates. Barbarella gets Pygar out of there, and they go into the Chamber of Ultimate Solution, which is like it's a suicide box. Um, they can't get out. Some girl runs in a door and presumably kills herself, and it doesn't seem like she wants to, but in the credits she's listed as Suicide Girl, so I don't know.
Yeah.
um, they say they're gonna brave it, so they start to go through one of the doors, but then the concierge of the Great Tyrant shows up, and they stop her from going into the death door, and they get her out of there. The city sits on top of a liquid energy that like feeds off a negative energy, so that's literally how this place runs. So that's why there can only be evil here, because the place doesn't work. It can't be powered if there's no evil here. So, which I guess is an interesting concept, but is just stupid.
Yeah. Again, it becomes a thing like, well, I want to see how this plays out now. It's just,
I guess this is done maybe better in Ghostbusters 2.
yeah, possibly. This seems to be more interactive.
um, let's see here. Pygar gets netted away, and the concierge is like, he'll be all right. And then Barbarella gets shoved down a slide. Barbarella emerges, and the creepy twin kids are there. But there's also a bunch of other people just like drinking and playing games. It's just supposed to be like, oh, this is like a casino or something. Um, and then and then they go into another room. Yeah, the concierge walks in, even though like they had to shove Barbarella down a slide. The concierge walks in like nothing happens. Like he didn't have to traverse any great weird things or go down a slide. He just appears. Then they go to another room, and there's like a big balloon there, and the Great Tyrant emerges when this balloon pops. I guess that's kind of effective. It's a weird entrance. So.
Yeah. Gave me some vibes of The Prisoner and other weird
Yeah.
60s orange alert. I'll tell you the balloons here.
The Great Tyrant has a horn on her head this time, and no longer the eye patch, so she also gets costume changes.
That means she's horny.
Oh yeah, yeah. Pygar is being accused of crimes, killing the blackguards, escaping the labyrinth, not having sex with her. That's it's all the crimes.
Yeah, all the worst things you can do.
Which is weird because those presumably are evil acts and help power the city, but whatever. they're evil acts that go against her. So
yeah.
Pygar is tied up on like a bundle of crosses. I wonder if this is where Evangelion got all this from.
That's what I was thinking. Is he the dead god? Is he the crucified god now?
Well, I would say he's crucified, but I was like, it's not exactly the same. He's just tied to it. But then later she says, "Decrucify the angel." I'm like, I guess he's crucified.
I do like. I always wanted. Now I want to use that line sometime in my life. Decrucify the angel immediately. Yeah, things got weird.
Barbarella grabs a gun off of Pygar and then holds the Great Tyrant hostage. But then the concierge notices that like the power patch on her leg is empty, so it's like, yeah, the gun's useless, and so he just disarms her and has her taken away. The Great Tyrant tries to have sex with Pygar, but like he's not into it. He says an angel does not make love. Angel does not make love, and angel is love, which she's not happy about that. So,
I think she'd be like, yeah, whatever you call it.
Barbara is taken to the birds, which is just a weird glass cage that has like a bird head on top, but then inside birds get released.
Yeah.
And they are presumably supposed to peck her to death. Here, this is just kind of a same thing as the dolls that attack her, which just kind of rips up her clothes, so it's an excuse for a costume change.
I heard the actual filming of this, the parakeets, which are not aggressive birds, by the way, were not doing what they wanted, so the set people took a huge fan, and were basically blowing the birds around and blowing them on her. And so the birds crapped everywhere because they were scared shitless because
Yeah.
there was a fan blowing, and she got very sick. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
From all the bird feces and everything else, and all the cuts and scratches that she did actually get. So it's like, huh, yeah, not a good idea.
Which I heard that was a report from Roger Ebert.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
I don't know what he's doing at that time, because I think he was still a screenwriter at this time, so I'm not sure.
He was on the set for that, and a few other things I heard, but yeah.
um, yeah, he admitted to that and said there's things that he's like could not tell because then people would get in trouble. So even worse things happen on set.
Oh, these people were blasted on drugs, probably honking each other off right there on the set. Yeah, I'm sure it was crazy. It was the 60s.
Oh, and they probably killed half these animals too. Like,
Oh yeah, they're just like, hey, what if we threw the birds through the fan? Like,
but then like a hole opens up in the ground, so she falls through that,
yeah,
and then she ends up in some underground where she meets Dildano.
I love that. That's the best name ever.
He's like a revolutionary of Tau Ceti, but he's also just
The guy gets that line out straight. Like, who are you? I'm Bill Dono. It's like he just said that out loud. How many takes did that take? Or I don't know if he spoke English. Maybe he wouldn't get the reference.
Oh, well, the original guy that got for this was Italian, and they dubbed him over, and then like, no, he's too serious, and so they got this English comedic actor to do this. So,
Okay.
this whole section just becomes like a improv comedy scene. It's some of it works, and a lot of it's stupid. Well, I like this line here. I think this is a famous line where he goes, "Are you typical of Earth women?" She goes, "I'm about average," which it's like she's impossibly beautiful. So it's like, what's the rest of Earth like?
Yeah.
Deodato seems serious and awkward. He also wants to have sex with Barbarella, but like she starts getting undressed. Is like, oh, okay, we're gonna do this all. But then Deodato insists, like, no, I want to use the pill. Like, what are you, a moron?
Duran gave me these. I want to try them. It's like, wait, I thought you had to be synchronized and stuff, like brainwave wise.
Yeah.
But okay, whatever. I guess not.
I don't know.
So now we get to see pill sex.
Yeah, where they just take the pills and they hold their hands up and put them together like they're doing a high five, and then they just kind of like get lost in their minds. They just kind of like bop around a bit, like that's all that's happening. They have sound effects here to imply the massive sex that's going on inside their minds.
Then Barbarella's hair gets curled.
Yeah. Yeah, and his hair starts spiking up, and he's like, smoke is coming from it. So it seems to be like either he's having the best sex or the pill's not working great, because maybe that's the problem if they're not synchronized.
Yeah. Whatever is something super awkward is going on, and this is when I'm like going to other web pages, like, oh yeah, this thing,
yeah. And then another lackey shows up, and he's very confused by the situation. Barbarella susses out that the pills were from Duran Duran, so she's like somewhat closer to finding Duran Duran. Barbarella gets another outfit with like this one's like a see-through, has like a see-through stomach and then one see-through boob thing going on.
One boob, the uniboob outfit.
Deodato calls ping. They get the ship ready. They say the guards are looking for the ship, so he sent the ship away to go into hiding. This is all unnecessary.
Yeah.
The Black Queen is in her chamber of dreams, he says, and so they need to get an invisible key to get in. So here they have a comical moment where they look for the invisible key, and then of course it's just empty and it's not there. And it's like, oh, I lost it. And then he found it's just all miming stuff. It's kind of funny. It's also stupid.
Yeah.
And then she gets in a tube and it's not working, because there's other times where this guy pulled a switch and a door wasn't working and he's all embarrassed by it. So there's another thing here where like the tube doesn't work at first and then he walks away and then she gets sucked up into the tube. So that being the end of Act 2. Act 3, Barbarella falls into another weird corridor of sexy people doing drugs and people being drugs.
Yeah.
They're doing the essence of man, where there's just like a guy and like a what do you got? The guy's in like the water of a hookah or something.
Yeah, I don't know what it. Yeah, it's a really weird. Only this movie could say like, oh, we're smoking the essence of man, and everyone's like, okay, I don't know what that really means, but okay.
Barbarella tries to blend in, but then she just immediately gets picked out by the concierge who takes her away. It's like this all seems unnecessary.
Yeah, it's just we want to put like weird stuff in the movie at this point.
Yeah, I mean, this whole movie just seems like cut footage rather than anything
Yeah,
intentionally
yeah,
filmed.
that is true. I kind of got this vibe, like these are just unrelated things strung together with some interstitial dialogue to make it work.
I mean, pretty much.
I mean, that's how it turned out. It was actually shot as a movie, but yeah, it kind of turned. But then you find out how blasted out of their minds everyone was
Yeah.
on the set. It's like, okay, they're having fun.
Yeah, the poor editor on this who had to try to make some sense of this.
He became a drug addict because of it.
Then we cut to the concierge has some sheet music, and it's like, and then like it's revealed he has like this piano sex machine that she's like put under.
The sexive machine.
Excessive machine.
Well, it's spelled though like X
Okay.
SIV. But yeah, they say it excessive, but they also put if you pay attention to the way he said it, because it's like he put some weird stress on that. So then I looked it up.
Yeah, there's something. Well, because like in the subtitles, they spell Duran Duran the way the band does, but I think it's actually has D's on the end.
Yes.
So there's
yes,
a lot of stuff like that in the movie where you're betrayed by the by the subtitles to make sense rather than the weird thing that they did, how they spelled it to make it look different. But
it is a fatal sex machine. It is. It induces fatal sexual experiences.
yeah, and there's just like a clothes of body. There's clothes over the floors and just dead bodies off to the side. So you know, like, well, this can't be good.
Yeah, this is how Duran Duran has sex, and of course he starts out, da-da-da, da-da-da, and she's in the sex machine.
Yeah,
and the music changes as they reach the top of the mountain or whatever's going to happen.
Yeah, so like it strips off her clothes and like starts to have sex with her, and it's also going to kill her. She gets all sweaty and tired, and the concierge is getting frustrated because she's not dead yet. Then she has like an orgasm and it blows up the machine. Here he says, "What kind of girl are you? Do you have no shame?"
Yeah, shame. Are they going to walk her through the streets and say that? Ooh, who gets shamed in the city of Sogo?
As like the machine's blowing up, Duran Duran like walks away and he walks near her like brain scan device and it goes off, and so this is where she learns like, oh, that's Duran Duran, but here he's like 30 years older than she expected. So,
Yeah.
And they don't go over like, oh, the relativity or anything like that. It's just he's 30 years older now.
Oh yeah, the Matmos has the being close to the goo that runs the city has aged him tremendously.
Oh, okay.
Matmos, which by the way is the original manufacturer of the lava lamp, is called Matmos.
Oh,
And
okay.
I guess these things are connected.
Huh.
You can still buy them. I have a Matmos lava lamp around here somewhere.
Huh. What's the country of origin on that?
UK.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, Duran Duran.
By the way, production note: when this machine caught on fire, the director did not tell them that was going to happen. So their reactions are genuine, and then you watch the scene again. And it's like, yeah, they act like people would act if something just suddenly caught on fire. They kind of look at it funny, like, what's going on? Am I gonna get killed by this thing? Because is it gonna electrocute me? I guess the guy who played Duran Duran thought Jane Fonda was getting electrocuted for a second. Just like, I don't know if that's good movie set management or not.
You have to think, if that's what that guy was thinking, there had to be other situations that would make him jump to that conclusion.
Yeah.
I imagine a lot of unsafe things happen here.
They're basically told there was going to be like smoke effects. So they knew an effect was going to be revealed, but the fire effects they weren't told, I guess. and everyone was kind of like, huh. I don't think they got the reaction they wanted, because most people don't scream when stuff happens. It's weird. They'll look at it like, wait a minute, let me analyze what's going on. Time to get away from this, whatever this is. Only in movies do people like point and scream. I've never seen anyone do that in real life. People are like, oh, it's time to get out of here.
Duran Duran doesn't want to go back to Earth, and so he's enticed by evil, and he feels there's like a truth to it that speaks to him.
Of course there is.
So Duran Duran and his I can't remember that. I just wrote I have it later on. It's like the positron beam or something like that. It's some device. it'll kill all the way into the fourth dimension, so it's like extra evil. It's like
Kills through not only space but time.
So
Tom Baker's going to show up and stop the weapon. I'm sorry, the fourth Doctor.
Duran Duran has been waiting for the right time to kill the queen and take power, because apparently there's something if like you just kill the queen, then her guards will kill you. But so
no, the Mathmos will kill everyone.
Oh, okay.
The queen has to have an orgasm in her sleep every night, or the Mathmos kills us all. Or so, it was actually something was said like that.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not sure exactly what, but because at this point I really wasn't paying attention.
Yeah.
Sorry, audience. I kind of was like, I was checked out at this point. Like,
Barbarella gets like a gym one-piece swimsuit, so it's another costume change.
Yep.
Duran Duran takes Barbarella to the Chamber of Dreams so they can open the invisible wall with the invisible key. The key falls on the ground, but that ends up being like the keyhole for it anyways, and the door opens. And then Duran Duran runs in and grabs another invisible key and then locks her in there for eternity, I guess. But that's what he says.
For the next 5 minutes, whichever comes first.
Yeah, so he runs off in hopes of like conquering Earth. Barbarella sees the Dark Queen, the Queen's dreams. It's like projected on the wall. And then Barbarella wakes up the Dark Queen, and which honestly, I think they use like the Dark Queen is like the bad guy in Battletoads video games. It's like, oh, this really got that from.
Okay, all right.
Because she's like dark haired, has big boobs and all that stuff. It's like, okay, they didn't even use a different name. But anyway, she wants to team up with the Dark Queen to stop Duran Duran. She says something about the Mathmos will claim me because she's woken up in the Chamber of Dreams with somebody else there, which I guess triggers the Mathmos. Then they bring up a video screen. They're watching Duran Duran about to be crowned, but the revolution comes for him. So Duran Duran goes to his fourth dimensional death ray and starts killing people in the labyrinth, just randomly.
Yeah, basically everyone you met in the labyrinth is dead.
Yeah.
Dildano, the professor, whatever.
Ping.
Professor Ping.
The Dark Queen releases the Mathmos, saying it'll be the apocalypse, and so this is what starts to be the undoing of Duran Duran. Barbarella and the Dark Queen like fall into the Mathmos, but apparently Barbarella's innocence creates a protective bubble around them.
That's usually what happens.
And she's like, "Oh, neat, yeah, yeah." Just
the naivete from the first part of the movie is now like coming out. Now it comes back.
And then Duran Duran's positronic ray is self-destructing. He dies screaming, presumably. Barbara.
Supposed to be a sequel, but surprisingly, didn't happen.
I mean, there's more in graphic novels if you want to see that.
Yeah, dude, follow up.
Barbara and the Queen land on the shore of like a destructing Sogo. Here, Barbara revives Pygar by just like flapping his wings.
Kind of like CPR, but with his wings.
Yeah,
because all of a sudden he sounds like a bellows when she's doing it. I wasn't doing that before. But...
Well, because the Dark Queen says, "Why don't you give him mouth to mouth?" And she's got I got a better idea, and neither of the ideas would.
It's like, oh, where's this going? Like, wait, you just said innocence made a bubble. That's not innocent.
So Pygar like flies off with Barbarella and the Queen, and Barbarella's like, "What do you save her for?" And he's like, "An angel has no memory." End credits.
Yeah, that's perfect. It all makes sense.
So yeah, what a weird campy movie made under a haze of drugs and alcohol. So
yeah, this is the '60s, boys. Yeah, because neither me or Conlon grew up in that era, but. You know it when you see it. And there's a lot of cool things about the 60s, too. I mean, this was actually kind of vaguely cool for what it was.
Yeah.
It was
there's some interesting ideas. There's some good production values. It just doesn't come together as coherently at all. It's just, you got to pick and choose. But unfortunately, you have to watch the whole movie. So it's like, this is a movie you can watch on YouTube. Like, let somebody go. Just watch like highlights of Barbarella. That's all you need from this movie.
Yeah, you don't need to go deep. If you want to see Jane Fonda, watch the China Syndrome. That's she actually did good actress. it's a cool movie. It's that's my Jane Fonda is always a nuclear reactor melting down, not so much Barbarella.
Although I was looking up like, what's the other thing? Because there's a lot of like movies like I was saying, like she didn't seem to be in a lot of big movies, and like a lot of things she does is like seems to be a lot of comedies. But there's like some movie called The Chase, which is like her, Brando, what's the other guy, Redford, and like a bunch of other people in this movie I've never heard of, but it's from the '60s, but like it looks cool. It's about a guy who's like Redford escapes out of jail as he's wrongfully accused of something, and they know he's like running back to the town to try to like disprove himself, and Brando's like the sheriff who has to like stop him even though he knows he's like in the right.
Yeah.
um
I'm trying to. She was in a movie with Donald Sutherland, and she was like the main actor.
Clue.
I think she won an Academy Award for that. That one was cool too.
I've always heard of Clue. I've never seen it. It's like Steven Soderbergh's favorite movie. He says it's like the best Alfred Hitchcock movie that's not Hitchcock. So we probably got to watch it sometime. So
yeah, I've watched it once. I remember liking it. Very very much a '60s '70s movie, but I did like it.
Because we're about to enter in another random like phase of Verhoeven Effect where because we're entering our episodes, the 70s of our episodes, so we're gonna do movies from the 1970s.
Yep.
That's 71, so I have something else slotted in, so we might switch it to Clue, because almost all the movies I picked for the 70s, I just looked at the top 10 list of the top highest grossing movies, which is not really the best way to find like the underrated B movies of the 60s, but it seemed a lot of things of the 60s were content farms rather than well-made things. So
70s cinema is great.
Oh yeah. But yeah, I just don't know enough about like B movies or underrated films from the 70s. You would probably be more exposed to that than I would. So
yeah, oh yeah. Well, I don't know underrated stuff. I mean, because we did, what was that one we did? The Parallax View. Didn't we do that?
We did that on Greed Factory.
Okay, yeah. Like that's the thing I like the most about 70s movies, the paranoia that permeates everything, which was on purpose. And all the science fiction was real hopeful in the 70s. The most hopeful era for sci-fi ever.
I mean, that's why Star Wars changed everything. It's like, oh, if you do hope, millions of people will come watch your movie.
This is what Westworld missed. Why weren't the theaters just crammed with people to see Logan's Run? That was so upbeat. Why not?
Well, we're sending a probe into space containing the supercut of scenes from the imperfect collection of this Verhoeven Effect. Nathan, what scene from this movie are cramming into space?
Oh, I'm not even gonna try to be weird or quirky. It's the opening credit sequence.
Okay.
The movie's the most known for. It is the best part of the movie. Jane Fonda writhing on a piece of glass, changing out of her space uniform. The most complicated spacesuit ever. Probably more complicated than an actual spacesuit.
Oh, yeah. Well, actually, no, because, like... Yeah, I was doing too much logic. It's like, no, all that stuff detaches with Velcro. That'd be a terrible spacesuit. Like, you need all that stuff to attach together mechanically. All those joints need to be a gyro that's joined together by metal.
Yeah, real spacesuits are more like something like the Borg would wear. Like you gotta click things together and pull the hand off, and yeah, I think it takes like an hour to put one of those one on.
Yeah,
like
yeah, and being assisted doing it.
Yeah.
That's why the Russians have their ones where it's just a zipper in the back and you just hop in and then pull it up.
Yeah.
Whereas like the American ones, it's all custom made to each person, but you can move a lot better because it's custom made to you. So.
Oh yeah. Well, the stuff we do in space is nuts too, especially like the shuttle cruise. That shuttle only existed to deploy and repair spy satellites. Science happened to come out of it. That was cool too. But yeah, it was mainly up there to like, yeah, we need the best spy satellites in the world and we got to have a way to fix it. A lot of people don't realize that about the shuttle. I'm sorry.
We have our letterbox, which you can, if you go to letterbox, we're user VHE, Verhoeven Effect. No, just each throw out as VHE. I did that because it'd probably be easier. It's very short. So 1 out of 5-star rating. Nathan, what do you give Barbarella?
I would have to give it a generous 3. Just for the quirkiness and for the fact that like some of the actors, I mean, it looks like everyone was having a good time. It's something you can watch once and say you've done it. You don't need to do it again. It is from a basket of weirdness, from a kind of a weird time. Um, so it's like for that, it's worth it. But I wouldn't like, oh, I'm getting like the. Is there a Criterion edition of this? Like, no, there's no reason to go any deeper on this.
No, but there is an Arrow Films version coming out.
Yes, what's that going to have in it?
Oh, it's got like 4 discs. I'm not sure what all has in it, but
Well, I won't be buying it, but I'll watch it on YouTube.
oh, well, I was almost gonna buy it. I think it's also like $45, but
No.
I was like, some Arrow probably has to have this, and I looked up and they did, but it's not out yet. I got their version of RoboCop and Tremors, so because they're having a Halloween sale right now.
Okay.
So they do have good stuff. Yeah, but I was surprised that they had the RoboCop one, which seems to have like stuff from the Criterion edition on it and then extra. So
That might be worth checking out.
yeah, because the Criterion edition is out of print. It's been out of print for like 20 years or even more. Yeah, 20 years. So that's basically the best way you can do it. And Arrow does good stuff. I mean, they're not better than Criterion Collection, but they have quirkier and they're just as enthusiastic with less money. So
Right. There's no pretension over at Arrow. They're just like, you like this movie, we like this movie. We don't care how much it sucks.
Whereas Criterion will like try to convince you that every movie they put out is genius. So.
Yeah, you're smart. We're smart. We're all smart together. Let's hold hands.
Oh, great. Well, I enjoyed this. It's like, don't get personal.
You gotta take the you out of this. This is real experience. This is selfish.
This is cinema. This is the heartbeat of cinema. Anyways, if you like what I heard, you can find us on verhoeveneffect.com. We have our listener support there. You can support us a monthly segment on there, 99 cents, 49 or $9.99. On whatever podcast platform you're listening on, you can rate us whatever you want. Remember, you can rate us whatever you want, but they only listen to the highest rating. Remember, you control the algorithm doesn't control you. We can find us at Twitter at Verhoeven Effect. Verhoeven Effect. You find us at Twitter at Verhoeven Effect, Facebook Verhoeven Effect, Letterboxd VHE. You can find us on YouTube at American Greed Factory and watch both this and that show live and unedited. You can also find our t-shirts at belowthecollar.com/Greed Factory. So for the Verhoeven Effect podcast, I'm Conlon.
And I'm Nathan.
Goodbye, America.